This is Dr. Jack Allergy coming to you live from the Twin Cities. No, that's where I live. I've been getting quite a few questions recently regarding how do I treat itchy skin that I can't tolerate the antihistamines that make me drowsy. So are there alternatives? And I feel that that's really important for people to know what alternatives are out there. If you like any of my videos, I would ask that you click the like button. And if you are interested in following when I do make further videos, you can click that subscribe button. I really do appreciate when people ask questions, and I do try to respond to them. There was just, I think within the last 24 hours, a subscriber asked a question regarding they get really sleepy and drowsy from Zyrtec, also known as cetirizine, and are there alternatives? So let me just give a very, very brief rundown on antihistamines. So there are what we call the sedating antihistamines, which are your Benadryl, which is the brand name. The generic name is diphenhydramine, those little pink tablets or capsules that you'll see. There's another sedating antihistamine called Atarax, and the generic is called hydroxyzine. These are very short acting. They bind the H1 histamine receptor very avidly. They're very strong. And so the stronger it binds the receptor, the more drowsiness associated with the antihistamine. These are short-acting, first-generation antihistamines that last only 4 to 6 hours. So they are on the receptor, bind strong, and then off the receptor quickly. So you have to take multiple doses. It's why I also like to think of these more as best at nighttime when you're going to sleep, because itchy skin does tend to get worse at nighttime. And so the use of sedating antihistamines, in addition to your longer acting, so-called non-sedating antihistamines, is effective, especially at bedtime. Now, talking about the non-sedating antihistamines, these are what we call the second generation H1 antihistamine. And these are loratadine, also known as Claritin, Fexophenidine, known as Allegra, cetirizine, known as Zyrtec, and levocetirizine, known as Xyzal, XYZAL. And oftentimes I present these in this order because this is how the receptor binding strength. And so loratadine binds the receptor the weakest, whereas cetirizine and levocetirizine tend to bind the receptor the strongest. Now, these are called non-sedating antihistamines, but non-sedating does not mean not sedating. Because when they're calling them non-sedating, they are comparing them to the first generation antihistamines, the Benadryls and the Atarax. So yeah, they are non-sedating. They're less sedating than the first generation, but that doesn't mean that they don't cause drowsiness or feeling tired. There is the increased risk of drowsiness. And even if you don't get drowsy, you might feel more tired, more run down, or more fatigued just because you're taking these. Additionally, when they're talking about non-sedating, they are in effect only talking about once daily dosing for allergic rhinitis. They're not talking about the higher level doses that are required to treat urticaria, hives, angioedema, atopic dermatitis or eczema, contact dermatitis, any sort of chronic itchy skin sort of condition is not what's part of the allergic rhinitis once daily dosing. So yes, once daily dosing is non-sedating for this so-called 24-hour medication. But when we start talking about actual treatment for these more skin-provoking and bothersome, itchy, rashy skin conditions, we're talking about higher doses. And so, yes, there is sedation, there is drowsiness, there is increased risks of tiredness and fatigue. So What's really important, and I'm starting to switch, if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know that I've talked about what I call my Z and Z therapy. Although that has changed now because Zantac is off the market. Zantac was rebranded, but the actual drug called ranitidine is no longer available. It was taken off the market within the last year because of something known as nitrosamines. Now, so Z and Z therapy, technically there is Zantac. They did come back, rebranded as famotidine, but that's also a drug that's been around for a very long time called Pepcid. So Zyrtec and Zantac is technically something you could still do, but Zantac is now famotidine. So it just feels less, it doesn't flow off the tongue as well. So there is an alternative for less sedating in general. And this is what I would call an F and F therapy. And I know very little about this, but I know through my children, FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's is incredibly popular, but that's not what I'm talking about. F and F therapy is what I think of as fexophenidine and famotidine, which would be Allegra and Pepcid. So what's great about fexophenidine is it does not cross the blood-brain barrier. So that's great. It does not cause drowsiness or sedation. So it is an excellent alternative to loratadine or Claritin, which doesn't bind as strong anyhow, which is why you don't hear me recommend it anywhere near as much. But when I think of treatment of very itchy skin, I think of along the lines of Allegra, Zyrtec, Zysol. And so if you get drowsy from Zyrtec, especially if you're having to take higher doses of the Zyrtec just to control any itchy skin, I recommend going with Allegra, also known as fexophenidine. It does come in 3 doses, 30 milligrams, 60 milligrams, and 180 milligrams. It does come in a syrup, although I will tell you that the flavor is atrocious. I mean, you have absolutely got to mix this with something or just try something else if possible. You know, put it in chocolate milk, do whatever you can. Just, I try these medications just so I can experience what people are talking about when they tell me that is atrocious. But Allegra is an alternative. Now, there is a caveat. If you are of childbearing age or you are planning to get pregnant or trying to get pregnant, do not use fexophenidine or Allegra. It is contraindicated. Even though it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier and it is a very safe antihistamine, it is also the only antihistamine that can cause issues for a newborn or a fetus or a developing in a pregnancy. And so we do not recommend that if you are pregnant, planning to get pregnant, or trying to get pregnant. No Allegra, no fexophenidine. Please stay away from that. For any other time or any other reason, it is safe to use. It is only childbearing age, trying to, planning to, or are pregnant, you want to stay away from it. It is safe to use the loratadines, the cetirizines, the levocetirizines, Claritin, Zyrtec, and Zysol during pregnancy. It's just the Allegra or fexophenidine we stay away from. With the F component, the other F is famotidine. So if I was going to treat, I'd recommend fexophenidine at 180 milligrams and famotidine at 20 milligrams. 1 tablet of each in the morning, 1 tablet of each at nighttime. You should and will notice less tiredness, drowsiness, or fatigue. But again, the antihistamine can still kind of, make you feel a little bit of lack of energy. It doesn't matter what type of antihistamine you're using. So I hope that this content has been helpful. I'm more than happy to answer questions, and I try to keep my videos under 10 minutes. So I say a lot, I talk fast, but I hope that this has been helpful. If you have questions, reach out to me. If you like my content, click that little thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, I'd love to have you. And I continue to enjoy making these videos. If you're in the Twin Cities, you can come and see me at Life Medical.